very, that's all. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight at the Traffic and Transportation Committee or the Committee Action and Advocacy. My name is Leo Jimenez. I am the chairperson of this committee. I'm also the first vice chair of the board, and I'll have committee members introduce themselves. The chairman of the board, Anthony.
Is the webinar started?
Yes, okay. Introduce themselves, and then our board members will go from there. Want to give a special thank you to Mary Anderson, the chair of the Aging Committee, coming in, and she'll have a brief presentation at the beginning. But with that being said, I'm taking.
Hello, everyone. My name is Noemi. Happy first day of June. I'm part of Traffic and Transportation, co-chair, and I am also part of, why am I blanking on? What's the other one? Public safety as well. So thank you guys for being here today.
Jody Horson, also a member of Parks and Cultural Affairs.
I'm Jim Berlin. I'm also a member of the Land Use Committee and I'm the board parliamentarian. And I've been on the board for at least 1,000 years.
I'm Melissa Sims, and I am also a member of licensing.
I'm Anthony Viola. I'm the chair of the board.
And Megas, I'm a member of Concerns of the Aging and Land Use.
I'm Mary Anderson. I'm chair of the Aging Committee. Presentation as the aging.
Oh, that then Mary, we're gonna let you take the floor.
Okay. So we've been for several months now talking about ageism in our committee and what it means to everybody. And a lot of roundtable discussions involving the committee members and other people who have attended the meetings. And basically, there have been, a lot of concerns about older adults and how we are perceived by younger people, especially, those of us that have some kind of mobility disability. They think that goes along sometimes with, mental disability, and, they're not able to function, and that sort of thing. And we've just been, talking about and reaching out to other committees to express our concerns about this and encourage discussion as per the committee, like traffic and transportation, and how that impacts the aging community. And things to think about when you're having discussions about transportation, for instance, and being cognizant of the needs of older adults. And I think that's kind of the gist. Anne, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, a couple of examples come to mind just in terms of job opportunities. And then if we're thinking about transportation, wondering how much the MTA gives weight to the concerns of the aging and the disabled. Indiana was at another meeting that this was discussed at and brought up some great points about how, it can be ADA like crazy inside a building, but if there's a 3-inch gap, here and there, it's no longer accessible to her. So yeah, it touches on lots of different areas. And so love to hear.
So, I invite all of you to chime in on questions or concerns or, anything, any comments.
Let you go, Jim.
Chow, chow, chow. That was a medium drink.
You please mute yourself.
The thing I find interesting, and there's actually a hierarchy in terms of And then again, maybe there should be one, I don't know, but I find it interesting. If you look at the signs in the subway, they basically order people to get up for disabled people, but request them to get up for senior citizens. So there's a lower standard. And I know in foreign countries that they're the same, these seats are for, senior citizens and disabled people. And again, if you, read the sign carefully and you see what it says. I mean, maybe if you're old enough, you're inherently disabled. I don't like that thought either. And the other side of the coin, which I mentioned last time when your colleague was here speaking to us, I personally find when I get on the subway and I look a little tired, people get up, people offer me their seats. So there are all these wonderful people out there. But on the other hand, I just wanted to bring up that interesting point.
Thank you, Jim. I think that when we have discussions on certain traffic improvement or street safety issues, we keep accessibility at the forefront. And I think one of the beautiful things about community board is that the committee doesn't do alone work or work in solid apart from the rest of the board. So usually when we go on and pass these resolutions, we do have considerations for the elderly, for the disabled, and we encourage more of these discussions. Because the reality is that oftentimes in our community, most people kind of put it at the back burner, put it behind us and not consider your point of view or your perspective. So it's good that you come to our committee. I think it's good that we have these conversations so that when we do make decisions, not only as a committee, but as a board, we do take into consideration those certain, I guess, out of the perspective of what you go through on a daily basis. I think Anthony and previous chairs have done a great job that they put different people in committees to really reflect that. So our committees are not necessarily gender-based or age-based. There's different age groups that can all contribute to that. So I do encourage these conversations, and I'm glad that you're making the effort to go to each committee and really see these things and how we can, as a community board and as a community, really work to improve the lives of elderly person.
Another tiny thing, this committee actually has a genuine old person on it. You may be sure I advocate for us.
Yes.
Exactly. One of the things that comes to my mind is when we had the last general meeting, and I know that street is an incline. So I was a little concerned that it might be too steep. So that's also, something to consider when, we're talking about having events.
I think this is a great way
It's
to.
not just the venue itself, but it's getting to the venue, because some of us can't take the train because it's not accessible. So
I think this is a great way to allude. We discussed at our last committee that. So I had seen that the Brooklyn Community Board 6 has a Google form accessible to the community on the website where people can go and report these issues. It's something that Anthony and I have been discussing as a pilot program for our board to adopt these Google forms, make it accessible on our website so that if anybody from not only your committee, but just community in general have concerns regarding the streets that they navigate daily, they can go and put on the Google form, and then we can follow up with DOT or with MTA or whatever agency is. Because I agree, I can't say we don't, but I don't pay attention to these things daily because I don't have to go through them or I don't see them in those lines. So it's something that I really want to push forward through this committee and kind of pioneer that if there are any concerns that we might not be able to address through our committee meetings or in conversation with DOT, if there's something that you see, feel free, you could always reach out to me, but feel free to go on the Google form and we'll address it with DOT accordingly. So I do agree, we should be, again, with your lens or the lens of people who are older or disabled or have some type of inability, we should be able to address it. And it should not be put at the back burner of these conversations.
yeah, and it's not just older people, it's disabled people can be very, very young too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
when people want to get to these meetings or, be involved in an event, we have to really, look at that. Because part of, my vision of the aging committee is not just looking at older adults, but also the disability aspect. Because, we've kind of made that a piece of our committee.
Another thing. And I observed at the last general meeting, Mary, that I don't know if it ever got resolved, but you were having difficulty hearing. I know we can't have somebody signing at every meeting.
Now, because I forgot my microphone.
Oh,
I forgot to charge it actually.
okay.
So,
Oh, well, that's on you.
yeah, right.
And I don't know how that resolved. And I don't know how much consideration is, included in choice of venues for us.
Well, I think, that last general meeting was, unique in terms of the ability to hear, because sometimes, it was too loud and I couldn't understand what was going on, and then it got too low, and then, it was,
Yeah.
I want to thank the chair, Anthony, I'm sorry,
that's,
and the board office. I think when they choose these locations throughout the community, it's for that purpose, so that we give more accessibility to people who are not able to make it to these neck of the woods, a chance to come to our meetings and represent.
So before we ever select a venue, starting in January, I'm updating it now with some of this feedback. There is a questionnaire that goes out to each venue confirming that they meet our tech standards, that they are ADA compliant. But now that I'm hearing some of these other inputs, I'm gonna update this form and include this feedback. And if
Cool.
you guys think of anything else that you believe should be on this form, let me know.
and the other important thing is a venue may be ADA accessible in that they have a ramp, or they have, the ability to get in the bathrooms. Because we had a Christmas party at a venue last year. The bathrooms were not accessible. I couldn't get in
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lyle,
with the walker.
I don't mean to
That's
put you on
my
the
wheelchair,
spot, Lyle.
so.
Can you give us an update on any ADA ramp projects happening in our neck of the woods anytime soon?
Sure. I know that well, to start from the beginning, basically, yeah, DOT is going around citywide, upgrading every ramp, pedestrian ramp, so that they are ADA compliant. I'm not sure exactly where we've been to date in CB12. I can see if I can get a list of locations from our pedestrian ramps group and get back to you. And if there are any other upcoming locations, I'll see if I can get a list of those and pass them along to you as they get built out.
Okay, thank you.
No
As
problem.
far as it goes, I'm trying to attend the ACTA meetings for the next, there's one coming up pretty soon that I registered for. And put in a question about where the number 168th Street accessibility is on the list of, to be made accessible.
Yeah.
So
It's a tough one.
anyway, that's, one of many, many, many things that we talk about, our concerns. So,
That's
Thank you.
actually very important, because it would allow disabled people to get from one train line to the other train.
Yeah.
exactly.
I do want to give a shout out to Mary, because I don't know if it was the April service cabinet meeting or May, but when they were paving the roads, she had noted
Bingo.
that Broadway was taking longer to pave, and she flagged that with DOT. And we asked DOT to prioritize that, because that is an important.
And I was
Walkway
so
program.
thrilled to walk out and go to
That was
Broadway
good.
and be able to cross it
Yes.
in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that's how long it was taking me to cross Broadway with
While it
this.
smelled. Yeah.
And that's, it's like ridiculous. That's like, 4 traffic lights.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great stuff. I'm gonna allow Allegra LeGrand. She has a comment on accessibility. Allegra?
Oh, hi. I'm very grateful actually that you're calling on me. I would just like to say that the hybrid option for these virtual meetings is what makes these meetings accessible to so many people. Parents who are caregivers, uh, sometimes people who are caregivers for their own parents. A lot of these folks have a really hard time making it to these meetings. And so the hybrid option and active participation in hybrid is so vitally important. CB12 throttles virtual participation in a much more strict manner than other community boards. Other community boards allow like the chat function to work, and they allow a little bit more leeway. I know we locked it down because early days of Zoom, people were bored and they like Zoom bombed everywhere. But with these youthful whatevers like out of the system, I wish that we would, one, reconsider that. Two, for accessibility, there are some very common sense things around the neighborhood that we should do for accessibility, and there's really no mechanism internally to enforce that. Like I went back and forth between this CB12 Manhattan and CB8 in the Bronx, trying to get an accessibility ramp installed to for like miles and miles and miles, the only way to connect Manhattan to the Bronx. It is a sidewalk, a lone sidewalk on the northbound side of the Broadway Bridge. There was no accessibility ramp for like over a year. I begged everybody. Finally, I think somebody at Bronx 8 called the right person, had the right connections, and they dumped some asphalt. And just, I think last month, they actually installed a curb cut. But there is still no painted stripes to provide for that accessibility. And that sidewalk is so crowded and so narrow that I would think that anyone who is not like able-bodied has a hard time using that pathway because it is so narrow and so crowded and so overburdened. So I really wish that in these discussions of accessibility, a lot of people with disabilities, people who need a little bit of help mobility, like wheels on the ground, getting around, the subway system is pretty tough to use in Upper Manhattan. We have just the station on 207th Street and just the A train station at 207th Street and 168th Street. Otherwise, you're pretty much on your feet or you have to use buses. And so making sure that our sidewalks are kept like clear and accessible for people is so vitally important. There's still no crosswalk painted in there at 9th Avenue and Broadway. There's been a crosswalk at 217 and Park
Thank
Terrace
you,
West
Elida.
without.
Forwarded me and I'll forward it to Lionel. I know that Catherine Ponte from DOT mentioned and Catherine, you can unmute yourself and refer to the disability.
Yeah, we do have so I think what's being discussed here is a lot of like operational fixes, like street painting and that sort of thing, which has a number of teams and processes in place. And unfortunately, I think Lyle is your best conduit for kind of getting these needs like met as quickly as possible. But I also wanted to flag we have an additional resource. There's a unit within our agency that's more within our planning division that focuses on sort of resource sharing and connection to advocacy groups around mobility, or whether it's people with disabilities, older adults, low English speakers. And so they're called Mobility Management, and they have a number of resource guides and other tools available to the public. And I just wanted to flag that as an additional advocate and sort of source of support within the agency that people can look to on this issue.
Okay. So we have two presentations from DOT tonight.
I just want to say thank you to the committee for,
I'm sorry.
allowing us to, have this presentation. And not just this committee, but all of the committees have been more than, extending their welcome to us. So we're getting through each of the committees.
Thank you for being an active board member. Mary used to be a member of this committee, very well spoken, outspoken. And she comes every so often and again gives us different perspective from her situation. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll start with the DOT presentations. We have two. One of them is on the public e-bike charging program, or the PC. And I believe Lyle, Elaine, and Catherine are here to present on that behalf.
Hi there. Yes, my name is Elaine, and I'll be presenting on the public e-bike charging. I also want to acknowledge the very important discussion that just happened, and really appreciate there are lots of great advocates in the room for accessibility. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. All right, let me know when you can see that.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So, yeah, my name is Elaine, and I'm going to be presenting on this new program, the public e-bike charging program. I'm going to give a little bit of context on like why we think this is a really exciting and needed program, and then also go through a couple of proposed site locations with you all, and of course, answer any questions and get your feedback. So I want to start off with really the challenge here. Many of you probably already know this, but e-bikes have batteries. And since 2022, those e-bike lithium-ion batteries have caused over 900 fires in New York City. This is very significant, and DOT has been working continuously with the fire department to really investigate, what are the causes that are the reasons behind these fires, and also, how can we help prevent those from happening? So what we learned is really there are two main reasons for these fires. The first is people using uncertified and low quality batteries, and the second is having doing improper charging practices. And I do want to say maybe up front that, e-bikes are an alternative to otherwise heavier gas mopeds or heavier vehicles in general that can go much faster. So we do see e-bikes to fill a certain gap. And so why are we pitching battery swapping cabinets or this public e-bike charging program? In 2024, we conducted a pilot of different technologies, including other e-bike charging methods. And what kind of came out on top are these battery swapping cabinets you see here on the left side. We asked over 100 delivery workers to try and test these out. And what we heard back is that they actually liked it. They not only told us that, it was easy to use, but they also told us that many of them told us that they completely eliminated the need to charge indoors because they could rely on some service like this, and also even shared that they would be willing to pay for this service if it was located in key areas and lowered their battery-related expenses. But of course, we didn't just talk to them about the technology. We also just wanted to know, how they functioned, and also, what their other needs are. And there are a couple different things here I want to talk about. The first is, these workers need to swap mid-battery or mid-shift. So usually between like lunch and dinner, they usually carry a spare battery on them. And if you've ever seen the back of a delivery bike, there's usually a little rack that they insert their spare battery in. These are pretty heavy as well. But generally, workers are also just, worried and concerned about their own family's safety as well, and are even being met with just landlords saying, hey, no more charging here, that's it. Right. So we do find that there are some missing pieces here that we would like to fill in terms of the gap. So what is this program going to be about? We received $3 million in grant funding from NYSERDA to place these certified battery swapping cabinets at 25 locations in New York City. And the bulk of this money is really going to building out electrical infrastructure in New York City. We are not procuring the equipment itself, and I'll talk about that in a second. But where do we want to place these? You can see on the image on the right side, the primary areas are most of Manhattan, South Bronx, parts of Queens, and downtown Brooklyn, Williamsburg area. And that is because as we conducted our pilot, we also asked delivery workers, one, where do you actually want to see these? And these white dots you can see here are actually, basically stickers of where delivery workers told us they wanted to see this. And you can see how dense that population is in Manhattan. Sorry. And underneath that, you see the dark blue layer. This is data from the Department of Consumer Worker Protection, and this is data on how many, the concentration of deliveries. And you can see most of the deliveries are taking place on the Upper East Side, Midtown, and FiDi. So we understand, of course, that, one program can't solve everything, obviously. And so we know that e-bike safety is a multi-pronged approach. First, on education, we released a delivery worker safe education course on safe riding practices and also just fire safety, better understanding, battery types and things like that. We also understand that there is just a really critical infrastructure need that we are building out actively in terms of bike lanes. And third, at the core of this, delivery app companies really, are incentivizing these delivery workers to go as fast as possible. So it's really important that DOT holds these apps accountable and is currently actively working with City Council to do just that. So how does this exactly work? Right now, these are photos from our pilot program. There's two different types here, and you can see that the transaction for this process really takes less than 60 seconds. You scan a QR code, and these delivery workers really, rely on phones to do their job, right? So you scan a QR code, put in a depleted battery, and basically grab a fully charged battery and go on with your day. And in addition to this, I think what's really important to focus on here is that all the batteries that will be part of this program and all the cabinets will be built to the highest standard. We call this the UL standard. This is a nationally recognized fire safety code, and that includes things like fire containment and making sure that there's fire containment. So like if there is worst case scenario of fire in the cabinet, it actually stays enclosed in there. Along with, of course, just weather and theft proofing. One of the other factors is that we want that proactive battery health monitoring. So if there is some kind of tampering going on, that can be indicated, and that battery can be taken out of circulation, and a new healthy battery can be placed in its place. And the last point I will make here is that financially, this program is built to be self-sustaining because we will be getting a vendor on board that will have a membership fee. That membership fee will pay for, obviously, the operations of these cabinets, but also site maintenance and the cleanliness of the area. So the vendors will be responsible for that, and they will be fined if they do not comply with that. So just a couple other slides. How did we kind of start to identify sites? I think primarily we're looking at areas on top of like those two layers that we talked about, near bike lanes, and of course on major streets and wider sidewalks. To the comment earlier, we don't want to block pedestrian traffic or anything like that. We also stayed clear of fire hydrants and bus stops, and of course, kind of just like are being guided by our pedestrian mobility plan to keep high traffic volumes. So just a couple considerations that I think I hit on a couple of these already, but on congregation, we don't believe that this technology will really create much congregation because one, the transaction is very, very quick, as I mentioned, and two, during our pilot, our most popular site was the Cooper Square location, that very popular delivery hub, right? And we noticed that people didn't actually congregate in that area where the swapping cabinet was, but they would go further away where there's more shade and benches and things like that. And then in terms of clear path, I kind of mentioned we're being guided by that mobility plan, fire safety. I will say that we've been continuously coordinating with FDNY throughout this entire process and plan to interact with them and continue to work with them throughout, throughout this program as well. And lastly, just making sure that our aesthetics are integrated into the current streetscape. So I know this is a map that looks a little scary, but there's 50 proposed sites. We are not doing all 50. We are narrowing these down to approximately 25 locations, and we're also taking suggested site locations as well. I'm sure that there are great sites that you guys all can think of as well in your area. So I'm going to just show you a little bit about of like how we look at clearances here, and you guys are probably all familiar with this, but in terms of the clearance for this program, we're keeping 5 feet away from fire hydrants, 3 feet away from tree pits, making sure we're keeping clear of all entrances, and that 10 feet from crosswalks. So we aren't trying to go into the clear path area. We're really trying to just stay away from that. So I'm going to swing by these 4 locations that are located in your district, and then we'll come back to this. So this is one of the sites on Wadsworth Avenue and West 175th. The second one on Broadway and 172nd. And we would be moving this bike rack. The third on Broadway and West 170th. And the fourth on St. Nicholas and West 163rd. So just to finish up here in my last 2 slides, right now we're doing that public engagement, getting all that good feedback, and we launched a public feedback portal in April and plan to kind of close out on that end of July right now. So we would hope to finalize our site selection, late summer. The construction part of this won't begin until like early 2027, and then the program won't launch until probably 2028. So that's pretty much it for me right now. Here's a QR code to the public feedback portal. If there's anyone in the room that would like to scan this, you can go there, leave your comments. We're reading it and happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine. I guess I'll start. Consideration to those 4 locations, what made DOT choose them? I'll be honest, the 175th and Wadsworth, that's not near a commercial hub where we see a lot of our deliveristas pick up food. I'm also concerned that Inwood wasn't considered.
So I think there's like a little bit of a balance, right? Like I think as I was walking up there, there's a lot of storefronts in the area, right? So it's a little bit difficult sometimes just based on clearances to make sure everything has every single, I guess, item that we want on the list. I think this one, though, is clear. At least when I was there over the weekend, I did see some delivery workers pass by me, but I know that, you guys know your area best. Not all of these are, going to have all those layers, but we're taking that feedback, and that's what we want to hear so we can better incorporate and select these sites.
Wow. Do you have data on the outreach done in this community? I would actually like to see that. I haven't heard of any of our deliveristas or delivery workers really support this. So I'm kind of interested to see that feedback on the data. Now you collect it citywide, but
Yeah.
what outreach have you done to this community besides coming to this meeting?
Yeah, so I know that during our pilot, we did work with Deliveristas Unidos to do focus groups. They also supported us in like getting delivery workers to actually test out this technology as well. So we do know that there is some support for this program. It seems like something that people are willing to use and have tried it right through a pilot. Although, you know, there's tens of thousands of delivery workers out there, so we didn't capture everything, but we are going to be actively going out for delivery outreach. Actually on Wednesday, we have a specific delivery worker outreach in Manhattan, and we're doing a community outreach every week of June, specifically there to give away free helmets, but also collect some feedback from them. So we will kind of get that information and hopefully share.
I wonder on a related note if these locations are a bit concentrated with one another. So there's 4 of them. I saw 2 of them are within a mere block and a half of each other. And I'm curious why there wasn't consideration put on 180th up to Dykeman or 155th to 270th.
Yeah, that's a great question. So just to answer that, not all of these 4 sites will be selected. I think we were trying to just provide some options, right? Like if you didn't like this corner, maybe this corner. So that's why they're kind of close to each other. We do think like this little hotspot is an area where we've seen a lot of delivery workers. But yeah, we are happy to take other site suggestions as well.
Do any other committee members have any agenda?
I have 3 comments. I agree with both Anthony and our chair, Leo. There's a good 2 miles of our district north of 175th Street. And there are, you know, hundreds of thousands of people living there who require deliveries, and yet everything seems to be, as Anthony pointed out, all of your potential sites are concentrated in one area. So and I don't believe that, you know, there's anything unique about this area. I would imagine demand is, you know, just as high, one would think, in Inwood. And that brings me to my second point. And you mentioned outreach, and I don't know the details of your outreach in the communities. And maybe this is something we as a board could help with the outreach of or for. And that is, as you pointed out, there are these folks, deliveristas and you know, whatever other ethnicity delivers things as well. We have all these restaurants and stuff. Ideally, all these businesses that do deliveries with electric bikes could be reached out to, at least with a paper questionnaire or a website or something, and we get a much better idea of what the demand would be. So that's my second suggestion. And my third point, which you've addressed, and I think it's a very strong point of your program, the actual batteries will be under the control, presumably, of the vendor. So as you pointed out, the quality of the batteries will be maintained. They will have been procured properly with proper certification. And that, you know, makes the risk of any fires at one of your stations, whatever they're called, very low. And again, the key, which you mentioned earlier, and you know, it's almost devastating to look at, we have to get these charging batteries out of people's apartments. And the other piece of it, and that wouldn't be your purview, but the fire department, and I believe this is already part of their education campaign, but if you're going to charge a battery in your apartment, don't do it by the front door because you won't get out. And people, if they need to actually charge the battery in their apartment, you know, should be reminded of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and go ahead.
Yeah, Elaine, this was really responsive and a quick turnaround in terms of a big issue in the community. One of the questions I have to piggyback on what Leo asked is how the data on number of deliveries was collected. I didn't really hear that. Maybe I missed it. But I know that there is, for example, a Wonder site right on Broadway at 156th Street, that there is a large number of delivery people who are concentrated there. And like Anthony said, just seems to be, the nominated sites at least seem to be clustered around one area with none in Inwood and none further down in our district.
Mhm. Yeah, so it was very difficult to find granular data like to that extent on this. The most fine grade data we could find is from DCWP in 2021 because they did a study that actually got DoorDash and Uber Eats data, which they do not give out, these companies, right? Unfortunately, which DOT is also working on trying to get. But like we got that data and that's kind of reflected in that map. But unfortunately, we do not have more recent data on this because I would love to see that as well.
Yeah, so Sonia has a question.
I do, thank you. Elaine, thank you for presenting this evening because this is an issue that is very concerning in our community. Firstly, can you place the QR code again so that we can submit whatever concerns we may have? And then secondly, one of my major concerns is who is monitoring these e-bike drivers. Because they don't seem to be respecting pedestrians, sadly to say.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much I don't know everything with what DOT is doing, but I know that we do have a serious problem. We do work with I think we have the education aspect, right? We need to start from the core of people's behaviors, right? But also there is more of the actual enforcement side to take illegal e-bikes and e-scooters off the road. I know that DOT is doing a lot of work on that. I don't think I'm the right person to say more on that right now. I don't know,
Thank you.
Lyle, if you had anything to add there, though.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Who's monitoring the e-bike drivers?
Oh boy, that I wouldn't have the answer to that. I know that I guess for a quick history, as a pilot program, the e-bike battery charging program did go citywide to a bunch of locations and had conversations anecdotally with a bunch of delivery workers. Um, that information plus what Eileen had mentioned uh, did combine to go into the selection process. I'm about to put the link for the QR code in the chat just in case anybody wasn't able to get to scan it. Um, but all of these things that you're mentioning here, you can definitely send and leave those comments to us. As Lane mentioned, all the comments are read and reviewed internally within DOT and are taken into consideration when determining the final location. So, I'm writing this information down. I know Lane's collecting this, but everything that you're mentioning is something we'd love to see reflected in the feedback portal as well. And I'm about to put that link in the chat now. So, just a heads up.
Thank you, Lau. Let me allow Allegra 2 minutes and then Peter reads. Allegra, your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you so very much. Yes, to just reiterate, there are people who use deliveries north of 181st Street. And also, I'm just going to guess that the deliveristas do not, by and large, live in the central business district of Manhattan. So why are you not installing stations where these folks live? I know there's dudes that live up here in Inwood. I see their bikes parked overnight. So why do you want them to continue charging their batteries at home? And why are you supplementing like wealthy people, wealthy people? So that's one point. Second point, like, do you have a major daylighting mission? Why not make those charging stations half height and keep it 10 foot from the crosswalk, but also use as an opportunity to daylight more intersections? And third, there were methods developed during COVID to map movements of people from New York City into like everywhere else based on cell phone data. The methods have already been like defined and published, and it's open access, free science for everybody. So why don't you use those here? If you cannot get the data directly from Grubhub, like literally like copy the method, rinse and repeat. Like it's not rocket science. Thank you.
Thank you, Lego.
Yeah, appreciate your comment. I'll just respond in terms of why we're placing where kind of the site location. So this is why we're having a public feedback portal. Like we want to hear about other locations as well. But I will say one thing: a lot of delivery workers did actually, at least from the pilot, wanted these where they actually work, like kind of how you have a computer maybe for work. I'm not sure exactly what you do, but like people need to charge their computer, right? Delivery workers, they carry extra batteries, which adds more weight to their already heavy lift. And so one of the places they do want to see that is where they work, and those places are central Manhattan and places like that. But we are trying to scatter these throughout the project area. And so if there are other suggestions you'd like to share, we are definitely taking that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, lady. What do you have 2 minutes? Peter?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to. I mean, a bunch of people already said it, but as someone who lives in Inwood, I would love to see some stations here. We definitely have some locations that would be very easy to install it, and also even potentially accomplish the daylighting. Like Allegra mentioned, that's actually a pretty great idea, I think. And yeah, as far as like monitoring the e-bike drivers, why would we want to put these already at risk, like generally at risk community under more scrutiny? That really just seems like the total antithesis to like what this entire community board seems to stand for generally. So I would hate to see any sort of initiative that puts them under more scrutiny than they already are. That's all.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Anyone else has any comments?
I do, and my hand is up.
Oh, sorry.
When I mention monitoring them, I am a car driver and I cannot drive my car on the sidewalk, and yet e-bike riders are driving or riding their e-bikes on sidewalks. So the concern is safety, and therefore that's why I'm saying, who is monitoring this group of individuals who are using e-bikes that drive really fast? And a perfect example, and I keep on bringing it up, 182nd between Amsterdam and Laurel Hill, there's a whole bike lane there. They removed, I don't know how many parking spaces to create this bike lane, and e-bike riders are not using the bike lane. They're still using the sidewalk.
Yeah, and just I guess to add to the point on enforcement and monitoring, we are also working with PD to make sure we take those illegal bikes off the road, but also just to make sure that people are using them properly, especially if they're faster vehicles, and doing a lot more outreach on delivery on riding behavior, things like that. Thank you for your comment.
We have a comment from one of our public attendants. You can just state your name for the record.
I'm sorry, my English a little poor. I'm speaking more Spanish.
Okay, we'll do our best to translate. What's your name? ¿Cuál es el nombre tuyo?
Mi nombre es Mayra Palacio.
Mayra Palacio. Ok, Mayra, ¿cuál es la pregunta?
No, mi pregunta no es pregunta, sino como una pequeña observación e inquietudes con relación a las bicicletas. Que la bicicleta, hay espacio que la tienen debajo de la acera y también usualmente la ponen encima de la acera donde las personas tienen que caminar. Hay niños, por ejemplo, que vienen en su coche y no creo que sea como lo apropiado para el espacio. Es mi consideración, es mi
So she's saying similar to Sonia that a lot of the bike lanes are right by the curb line, and sometimes these bike riders they get on top of the actual sidewalk, which causes issues to anybody walking on the sidewalk, including parents with strollers. And her consideration, she doesn't see it beneficial to the community.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you for the comment. We definitely don't want sidewalk riding as well, and or don't believe that the placement of these will cause that.
Y gracias por su participación. No importa que no sepa inglés. Usted vino y participó. Gracias. Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you. There are really two separate issues, and one of the issues is for this committee, and the other issue is for the Public Safety Committee. We all agree, I think everyone in this room agrees, that the way some bike riders behave, especially some bike riders, is unacceptable. They don't belong on the sidewalk, period. And that's the job of the police department, and our Public Safety Committee should encourage the police department, and if necessary, we can pass a resolution that, stressing our belief in the importance of this enforcement. And in fact, there were two bicycles that hit one another on some bridge the other day. And one of them was totally illegal. It could actually go 50 miles an hour, and it was in fact speeding. And both of these people are dead.
Yeah, on the bridge.
So, and of course, teaching physics, head-on collisions, all the energy, it's twice as much, so you get twice as much damage. And the other piece of it, of course, which is for our committee, is well, except I just changed my mind. But it's certainly for us to consider is this issue of this electric bike, the battery replacement is very important. And that's actually also a safety issue. So insofar as we might want to do it, we could also create a resolution with the Public Safety Committee, because and like I said before, keeping the charging out of apartments will save lives. So that's something we might want to consider too. And, insofar as we can support the program in general, I think that's something we should do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. In consideration with that, I do think that it's a conversation we should have with Chair Heidi and Public Safety. I think they go hand in hand, and it's something that we've been discussing for a while now. We've heard our community residents, our community members, with bike issues, especially with safety issues on the sidewalk. So it's something that maybe we'll sit down this month, speak with Heidi, maybe we'll go in the meeting and we put something out soon. I'm not sure we should do it this month. I want to kind of touch bases with them since it's an enforcement piece, and I think we should bring it up to NYPD. To close this off, Elaine, I do recommend that. I know that you said that you have some event in Manhattan. I do recommend you come uptown, Washington Heights, Inningwood. There's hubs. We can send it from the board office. I can send it myself to Lyle, where it's a lot of active deliveristas. And I think you should get feedback from them. Again, I haven't heard anything from our community asking for this. I do think it's necessary, but I am cautious. I caution that you don't want to receive feedback only from 12, 15 people here. And it should be something that the community really has some type of say in it. Not saying that we don't want this. I think this is necessary, but we should be cautious of where we put these hubs. Yeah. Yes, Anthony.
So the website says that the public feedback portal will close on July 31st. Would that apply to community boards as well if this committee were to pass a resolution about proposals and supporting the program?
Yeah, so that is just for the portal version. We are happy to take feedback from you all, in whatever form you prefer. We do want to, try to finalize our sites, after the portal closes, just to keep the project moving, because it takes a little time to do the construction and kind of like we want these on the ground as soon as possible, but it also takes time to actually build them out. So that is our aim.
With that being said, are you guys in support of passing a resolution, or they're opposing or in support, where we highlight certain things like locations, that we want more outreach? I would like to see more outreach in this community. Are you guys opposed to it? Are you guys support it?
I'm highly supportive. We all have a thumbs up?
All right, so we'll take
Many thumbs up.
So
May I
we'll pass
suggest
it.
you should also mention monitoring?
We can add language for monitoring and enforcement. All right, so let's take a vote. I vote yes. Noemi,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
yes, Melissa,
Yes.
anybody else? Anthony? Oh, yeah. And
You're actually a board member.
Oh, I would vote as board.
Yeah.
And yes. Thank you.
And yes.
Sonia, well, actually married,
Yes.
and then Sonia.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about the monitoring and we can, do the fine details as the thing is written. Individuals should not be monitored, but the batteries and their, condition and stuff, that should be monitored. But, we are not, I mean, who knows what ICE would do with this information if they monitored people. And again, sadly, we live in a quasi-fascist state at the moment, so we have to be very careful. And we have to protect our neighbors.
So it should be monitoring by the battery provider, I guess, the people.
Well, no, just the batteries, again, there's a whole privacy issue, and again, because we live in the unfortunate version of America we do, we have to do our best to protect our fellow residents, however they got here.
Okay.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm saying monitoring of the safety and hazardous issues. It's
Very-
not personal
agree.
information, it's how the usage.
Right.
Okay, so this resolution passes our committee. We'll propose it to the board. Lau or Elaine, can you please forward me this presentation so I can use some of the details for the resolution?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
We could probably put it on the website also, so that the community.
Yes, we're gonna take the QR code. I think they sent the flyer.
Yeah.
We have it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a flyer for, yeah. We'll send
Yeah,
it as-
I sent the flyer, as well as the QR code and the link, last week. So, like I said, as much information, as much feedback as you guys want to provide, and please spread the word, share the QR code, share the link. Like I said, as much information and feedback as we can get. We'd love to get it and sort it through and get back to you.
Lau, we disseminated it to our community, but it's exclusive from you and DOT kind of coming out to the community and doing your own outreach.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying that, there is a feedback portal, like I said, just if you can assist us with spreading the word so we can get more folks, that's all.
Okay.
But yeah, the plan is to do additional outreach on top of what we've already done, including the portal.
I'm requesting from the committee that when you guys come, at least give us a heads up so that we know the area, so that if we can kind of push it out as well, we can get some traction.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. May I suggest that the QR code be put in CB12's newsletter?
Yeah, if
Yeah.
it's on a flyer, we'll certainly do that.
Yes.
Okay.
And if we can get a flyer in Spanish as well. Communities, dominantly Latino, so we needed something in Spanish. All right, thank you. Moving on. Another DOT presentation, Micro Hubs Pilot Program.
All right, thank you all so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Is it? Let me see. There we go. All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So we are shifting gears a little bit and getting to slightly larger deliveries than what Elaine was talking about. I'm Catherine Ponte. I'm with our Freight Mobility Unit here at New York City DOT. And we have, this is to introduce you all to our MicroHubs pilot and to share a little bit about it and to see if there's interest in citing a pilot location uptown, given that some of this activity is already happening up here, and there's some interest that we've been hearing from our businesses. So just an overview, a little context here. So we're talking about bike delivery, but we also are seeing a significant uptick in package delivery in our residential areas, especially since COVID. So we're seeing a lot more trucks on our residential streets. And since trucks conduct about 90% of our kind of larger goods, bulk goods deliveries in New York City, we're really trying to take a hard look at minimizing some of the negative externalities that come with that. And just some examples, like many of you are probably familiar with this happening in the neighborhood here, but there are a lot of safety concerns with like informal on-street sorting and transloading from trucks to people walking to the delivery to its final destination. We see a lot of double parked trucks when they can't access the curb, causing numerous hazards both for the delivery workers as well as everybody else who has to use the roadway and sidewalk around these vehicles. And then finally, even if the truck isn't transloading and is just trying to reach the final destination, that means that they're circling through our neighborhood streets at a higher level, bringing with that air pollution issues and congestion issues and other challenges to the safety of our streets. And so we've, been wanting to tackle this in a various amount of ways. And one of those ways is this concept of like micro distribution, which is basically taking that kind of informal package sorting behavior and giving it a formal location so that we can encourage whether it's walkers or delivery, like cargo bikes or delivery vans, especially e-vans, so they're not contributing to air quality problems of the neighborhood, really trying to encourage that kind of final delivery as opposed to a large truck trying to make its way around some of our more narrow residential streets. And this is all part of these like larger strategies to diversify how that final delivery happens in the city. This is also connected to a local law that was passed back in 2021 that mandated the study of this particular strategy. And so we've been doing our due diligence to try to do this research, and it's very cutting edge. There's not a lot of examples in the US. Most of the examples are abroad. And so we're learning a lot as we go. And also we have a linked report if people are curious. And then related to that, because we're talking about a larger bulker goods, so we're not talking about the sort of like delivery Grubhub folks. We are looking at cargo bikes, and we've since passed a number of rules that regulate how these cargo bikes, what's street legal, what like safety requirements around these larger delivery cycles. And we have since developed a safety guide as well. So we've done a number of work towards those zero emissions, last mile freight vehicles. And then we also have worked with city planning on the zoning code amendment, which has allowed for this sort of micro distribution to happen in a wider variety of places through our zoning. Originally, it was really kind of designated as like warehousing and limited to industrial areas. And so we were able to enable commercial districts to be able to have this kind of activity. And so what are we talking about here? Micro Hub is basically, it's a space for shifting deliveries and goods from a truck within the right of way to a smaller low emission or no emission vehicle or human powered mode. Within the DOT pilot, we're really looking at trucks to cargo bikes, trucks to electric vans, and trucks to like walkers with carts. But we also recognize that there are other strategies that are happening outside of our pilot, and these are being supported by other DOT programs like the Cargo Bike Program and their cargo bike corrals sited outside of retail stores. We also have our Blue Highways program, which is facilitating barge to cargo bike transfers, all in the effort of trying to improve our air quality and to get larger trucks off of our residential streets as much as possible. And as I mentioned here, the kind of the basic goals of the program, really wanting to support greater adoption of sustainable delivery strategies, improve safety for both community residents and for delivery workers, improve efficiencies and cost savings for our businesses that are trying to make deliveries by reducing congestion, improving our air quality and noise levels within our communities by reducing truck traffic, especially on residential streets, and increasing activity, especially in areas that maybe are underprogrammed where possible. And so where are we with the pilot? This is a 3-year pilot. We are just wrapping up our first year. It's a small pilot. We're really looking at 20 sites to really test this, get some proof of concept. We're studying siting criteria, utilization, enforceability, safety, and how signage is working. And we are engaging stakeholders such as yourselves. We've also been speaking to our, freight stakeholders through our newsletter and through meetings and business community about, how this can work. We've started out in phase 1 with kind of a sort of initial smaller scale focused pilot. And then now that we're moving into phase 2, it's opened up. Any business can apply to participate, provided that they are willing to use a sustainable last mile delivery mode. And we are willing to kind of experiment and explore options and new siting and the like. So we're at an exciting time. And to get a sense of the siting criteria that we're looking at, we really are trying to get that sweet spot of high density mixed use land uses, really trying to focus on commercial corridors so that we're not siting on residential streets as much as possible, so that we can really stay true to minimizing that truck traffic on our residential streets, but having proximity to our truck route network, to transit, and to the bike lane network, so that the workers who are doing that last mile delivery can easily access the site themselves. And then, really looking at, and because, we're also looking to go where this is wanted. We're not trying to force this pilot on anyone. So looking at places that there's an interest either from companies or from community members saying that they would like to see this in their neighborhood. And we have, in terms of our placement criteria, we are mainly looking at curbside spaces where we can have a dedicated space for the truck to pull over and unload, where workers can then load the goods onto either hand carts or cargo bikes, or even an electric delivery van for that last delivery leg of the delivery. And with that, really making sure that it's organized and safe and not blocking the street, not blocking the sidewalk, not blocking our crosswalks. And we're very open to exploring different options and ways and opportunities for feedback. We do encourage public feedback through a sign, we have a sign with a form, like a QR code. Anyone can let us know how these spaces are working, if they're working well, if they're not, and that helps us evaluate the program, and also to speak to these are permit regulated. So if the company who has the permit does violate the terms of the permit, then they, we can ask them to, like, we could take that permit away from them. So we do have that ability. And just to kind of give a little bit of more context, like this is like, it is about 80 to 100 feet of curb space that would be dedicated to this use. And as noted, like a lot of this is happening informally and very unsafely in our streets already. So it's really trying to provide a safe or dedicated space for it, and understanding that, like, if a company has that permit for that space and we're trusting them to use it, if they continue to do unsafe transloading nearby, then that could be grounds to take their permit away. And then also, as mentioned, like we're also looking, where possible, to pair these micro hub sites with other sorts of safety amenities. So daylight, like we have incorporated daylighting in some of our initial locations, and that's something that we are interested in continuing to pursue for future sites. So here are a few examples of some of the sites that were active, have been active and continue to be active on the Upper West Side. These were installed as part of the Smart Curbs program, and we're able to, just kind of shows that there's this, space for the truck to pull over, and then a sort of painted delineator protected space for the transloading to happen. And there's a sign, you can see that in the picture, where it sort of designates the space for the vehicle, and also provides information on a pedestrian level for about what's happening and where you can give your feedback. So, on our end within as DOT, we are kind of taking in interest right now from various companies that want to do this. And then really trying to kind of help find appropriate locations. We're taking feedback both from the companies and from community members. We really, like I said, we really want to make sure that we are siting these in places that people want them and where they are not going to cause problems. We usually, once we have some sites that are looking viable, we'll follow up often with visits to any nearby businesses, and just make sure that they're not going to cause any challenges for the adjacent businesses, or where possible, we try to find locations where they are not adjacent to a business, and so they aren't going to cause potential conflicts that way. And then we are collecting data as part of this, and really trying to assess and learn from every new site that we put in. And this, like I said, because this is so new, the lessons that we learn not only benefit New York City, but benefit a lot of other places that are looking to us and trying to consider these sorts of programs. And, some of the kind of key criteria, it has to be a sustainable mode. This is like, the whole point of this is to improve our air quality, improve safety. And so, we need to have something that's smaller and that's, lower zero emission, ideally. And then, this needs to, we have sort of set radiuses around the micro hub zones where the company that has the permit has to commit to using their sustainable delivery strategy within, and also not doing any informal and unsafe transloading within those areas. The signage would include the company name that has the permit for that site. That company is responsible for maintenance and data sharing, and also letting us know if they no longer wish to participate. And some initial feedback from our first year and kind of very gradual start with this pilot. We definitely have seen public safety improvements in that the areas where the micro hubs have been installed, we did see a decrease, like the companies were utilizing the space and not transloading in the area immediately near the space. So that was good to see. They also, the companies that have participated did report increased fuel efficiency and reduced double parking tickets and just appreciation of the consistent location. This also was reflected in delivery worker surveys that were conducted as part of the that we asked, about as part of our data evaluation, and we did we also were told that workers were feeling safer with working within these curbside, like for more formalized locations. We've seen, both like the walker model, which often I think Amazon is probably the most famous or infamous for that. While they can't travel as far, they are delivering quite a high amount of packages per day. We did have a company participant that had a cargo bike model, so we were able to get some preliminary data from them. And while they were doing less package deliveries per day, they were able to cover a greater like miles with their delivery. And so both strategies were producing an air quality and emissions benefit. And let's see. And I think that, these sites, we noticed that they were mostly being used during the day. There really wasn't a nighttime usage. So that opens up opportunities for potentially returning to, maybe having a more of a shared model or a time-based model. Again, a lot of this is dependent on NYPD's ability to enforce these sites and help kind of clear illegally parked vehicles from the sites. And so it's something that, we're continue to be in conversation on. And this just kind of reiterates what I said. But I think, one thing to note is that, we really are hoping to see a diversity of businesses participate. Amazon is kind of the biggest player, but this is definitely not this is not meant just for Amazon. Like anybody can participate. The permit is open to any business that wants to. And so we really are looking to have more companies participate, and more sites, and really get a broader sense of how this can work for our city and what it can mean to help improve both our air quality and how delivery works more broadly. And so we are looking to both businesses and communities for feedback on potential sites. We do have a business that was interested in some sites uptown in CB12. And so we wanted to kind of reach out to all of you to get a sense of one, like your general feelings on this pilot, and also if there are locations that you would prefer to see for this particular kind of activity and street use. And so I just wanted to share, this is right now, this is our form mainly for businesses that are interested in participating. So if there are uptown businesses that would like to experiment with this kind of micro distribution model, and maybe doing a delivery with deliveries through handcart or cargo bikes, as opposed to like a truck, we're open to talking to them. And then if you as a community board have ideas for sites that you think would be really good for this kind of use, you're welcome to get those into an email and share them with Lyle and myself and others here at DOT, so that we can start to do some feasibility checks and really maybe get some implemented in the neighborhood. So that is my presentation. Thank you all so much for hearing about this pilot that we're doing, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So I have a couple points. This came to us, I'm not sure, Jim, you might, I think Jim and Larry and Jody, we were 2024. This came to us in 2024. They suggested two sites. One was on Fort Washington between 179th and 180th. And the other one is saying on Vermillia between Dykeman and Academy.
Yeah, it was around there.
Yeah. So we want to know the success of the pilot at that time. I have a couple concerns. So before we get there, though, what businesses are interested uptown? I'm very familiar with a lot of the businesses, and I know a lot of the Amazon hub spots where they drop off their packages and those businesses send them out from there. So I'm interested to know which businesses would like to be a part of this.
So far, we've been approached directly by a business called Net Zero. But we're very open to anyone else as well who's interested. Net Zero had been involved with the initial they were the cargo bike company that like had worked in the Upper West Side, and they were interested in doing this again, and they were interested in Upper Manhattan. And we're, but again, nothing is set in stone. Even with those initial sites there, it's very preliminary. So those were, people were like, not really, they didn't really move. And so it's like, this is like, please don't take any of this as fixed. Like this is very, again, really trying to reach out to you all while things are still relatively fresh, so that we can maybe get just like a read on general interest and support. But yeah, if we want, the thing to know though is that if folks are really interested and would like to see a site go in for our own construction schedule, like we have to move really fast. So unfortunately, like if folks are excited, like we can't just be patient, like super gradual with it. But if folks are not sure, like
when it
don't
comes
worry.
to implementations in our community, we actually like to take our time. We don't want to see something placed where it might be an issue. So my recommendation to DOT is one, get in touch with our business development committee. They're the best resources for you to get out to the business in our community, and they can connect you with businesses that might potentially want this. I think that the locations that you guys showed preliminary about 2 or 3 years ago were not the locations, and everybody could attest. Fort Washington, 179 and 180, it's a horrible location to have this because of the traffic issues there. I think that a lot of the issues that we will have with support from the community, and I'm not saying business specific, is the parking. We're already losing a lot of parking in our area to bike lanes, which we support bike lanes. We can promote safety for bike riders. We're all for it. But I think that's the pushback you'll get from certain areas of the community. The other thing is you have to partner with NYPD to be better at enforcement. You guys put these locations, and the reality is that people will come and still park their cars there. They won't get tickets, so nobody cares. So now we're kind of setting ourselves back because now legally you're blocking the area for these trucks or these deliveries, and you have cars parked there. So now you just add into a double parking issue. Again, feel free to chime in, guys. I'm not going to be the only one. Let's go ahead, Jim.
Yeah.
Well, let me continue from where Leo was going. Because as he pointed out, and free street parking is a big complicated issue, but we have lots of people in this community that rely on the street to park their cars. And one thing you didn't mention in terms of the part-time or dual use aspect of these potential hubs is they wouldn't be used at night. So there's no reason that cars couldn't park there at night, provided they went away when the hub went into action. And just to further echo what Leo was talking about, none of this is going to happen out of the goodness of the heart of every one of our drivers. Some of our drivers are very cooperative, and some people, unfortunately, are less cooperative, and that's where enforcement is necessary. But
Mhm.
so the concept of an exclusive hub where no one can park anywhere, anyway, that's perfectly fine. But if a hub were to be put in a place where there currently is parking, then we should have this sort of dual use, as I just explained, where at night, when the hub is not being used as a hub, people can park there, and at some time in the morning, it turns back into a hub. And of course, just to reiterate what I said, if your car is still there once it becomes a hub, then you should get a ticket, and not once every 3 weeks. You know, sometimes, I won't be specific, but sometimes we lose sight of, you know, what laws need to be enforced on in some level. You know, all the laws need to be enforced. You can't just hunt down bank robbers and ignore everything else. So if people are parking where they're not supposed to, they should be penalized. And another example, which has nothing to do with this, but it just came to my mind, there should be very strict enforcement, which doesn't occur either, of people who dare to park by fire hydrants, because people have been killed because of that. But again, the enforcement isn't there. It's not the role of our committee, but that enforcement is a big piece of it. So my big first contribution, considered a contribution, is that these hubs could be used for parking at night, especially if there was parking there in the first place. And the second thing, and I suppose they would fall under your category of hand carts, in my neighborhood, I suppose hand carts are carts that are pushed around by people, you know, by hand. They have a whole new kind of cart. It's a four-wheel cart. It folds up into nothing, but it holds hundreds of packages and it's pushed around by people. And I didn't see any of them in your pictures. So, and that's what's used primarily at these unauthorized hubs we currently have.
Yeah.
You know, and we have several in my neighborhood, but you know, I'm sure you're aware of these large carts that they've only had them for a couple of months, but they're a whole different thing. You know, when I hear hand cart, it's that thing with a fork on the bottom, whole box
Yeah.
around. This is not those. These are actually big four-wheel
Yeah.
carts. I could ride around inside of one.
No, that's exactly what
I just
what
wanted to
we've
call
been
your
seeing
attention to
used.
that.
Yeah.
Right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. I appreciate it.
I think the other issue that we might have with our support is that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the big players, Amazon, the big delivery companies, those big
Mm-hmm.
companies, we're taking away space from our community to allow these companies to come in and do the job while they collect money. What's the benefit to the community? I think that's a huge disconnect with this program and the reality of what we actually need.
Mm. I mean, I think
And I won't come at you, Catherine. I don't think it's necessarily
no.
there's certain things we request from DOT. We have a
Yeah.
huge parking hearing in July 15th. So we
Mhm.
invite you and encourage you to come and shorten the presentation, but to discuss this because parking will be at the forefront of this hearing. And I think this is something that communities should know. And if we have interest, we'll support. Again, we work for the consensus, but I think that we can't rush a decision without getting input
Oh
from
yeah.
our community at large.
No, that's totally understandable. And like I said, we're not trying to push this like faster than it needs to be. Like we really it's if the like we're okay with going slowly with it just because it is new, it is a lot to ask. Um, you know, it does take away parking and that's really tough for a lot of folks. Um, and I mean, I think to your point, like while it's, you know, we are trying to support smaller businesses to participate, you know, and we do prioritize smaller businesses when they do express interest. Um, the larger like the deliveries are happening regardless, you know, and so if we can, even with a big player like, you know, like an Amazon or uh you know, UPS or one of those like kind of larger players, like even if they're able to do those deliveries in a safer way so that our, you know, residents who are depending on those deliveries get them in a better way, like that's also we see as beneficial. But I hear you on it would be great to see more smaller businesses participating in this.
Thank you for this presentation. I had a question. So we currently don't have these micro hubs in our district, correct?
Yeah, there's no formal micro hubs in the district.
Is there, I would like to recommend the study, between 170th and 171st, where McDonald's is, because that's usually used as some type of hub for loading and unloading from trucks. We currently do not have parking on that side, and it seems to be very active with Amazon drop-offs, for the McDonald's that's there. And a lot of businesses that are in that area use that sidewalk to
Oh,
load
it's a
and
sidewalk?
unload.
I mean,
Sorry, not the sidewalk, that side of the parking street, but there's no
okay.
park.
Is
So
what's the cross street?
that's
Is it
Broadway,
Broadway? Okay. Yeah, we can take a
170th and 171st, and
okay.
that's southbound.
Southbound. Okay, yeah. I think that there's a lot of construction over there, if I remember right. But and so I wonder if that's also playing into it, but that's a really good flag, and we can take a better look at what's happening there, and also like if that's like if maybe there's some potential at that location. Thanks.
Yeah, no, there's no construction there. Definitely take a look at that.
Okay,
Sonia,
great.
Thank you for allowing me to express my thoughts as well. Catherine, thank you for presenting. In all honesty, I agree with what was already said in regards to individuals that own vehicles in this community, between the city bikes, between bike lanes and between bus lanes. We have lost tons of parking in this community, which is really sad, in regards to individuals that own vehicles, right? We're all part of the same community, and our needs should all be taken into consideration when we make these kind of decisions. So that's my major concern. These loading zone areas would be removing more parking from already the limited amount of parking spaces that are left in this community, sadly to say. As a suggestion, the area around 191 and 192nd and Amsterdam Avenue, that's a huge area that is not used for parking, and I think would be ideal for loading and unloading these trucks with the boxes that need to be delivered. But please keep in mind that we are a community that has lost a lot of parking within the last several years.
No, I definitely hear that, and loud and clear. but
why folks are parking in fire hydrants, right? Because if you're removing parking spaces, people still have cars.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
thank you, Sonia. Allegra, and then we'll allow me.
Thanks so much, Leo. So I'm a little bit concerned that this is a giveaway of public space to private companies. Like, is Amazon paying like what they would be paying if they were in the adjacent retail space area that's like actually in the building next door? That's one thing I'm concerned about. I'm also concerned that uh, you know, you say that it's making things safer because there's no enforcement, but like if there's no enforcement for double parking, why would we think that there would be enforcement for like these special loading zones? So, Community Board 12 Manhattan, can we please put in a resolution that says that NICE DOT should do parking enforcement and road level enforcement and not NYPD. I put some links here in the Q&A where I'm allowed to like post stuff. I really think we need to do this because enforcement is a whole nother question. Like we can we can paint like whatever, like this space is for that. And unless we have enforcement, it is all just a bunch of like cotton candy without any substance. Thank you. That is all.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I will say that the permit mechanism, people pay, like it is a pay permit, but because it's like a universal mechanism, there's it's the same fee. And so it's what the permit fee is. So it's not going to be as high as like retail space. But that's also a mechanism that can allow for less wealthy companies to be able to access that permit. And so there's like the flip side of that. But I definitely hear you on your concern there. You're not the first to have raised that. And then, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the enforcement question, part of the problem that we're having is that these companies are doing this behavior because they're going to keep doing the behavior because they don't have access to the curb. So, if we can give them access to the curb, that will stop the negative double parking behavior because they'll have what they need. But if we try to enforce it, it becomes a challenge because if there's no feasible way for the companies to be able to do the deliveries legally, like then they get kind of caught. So while I think enforcement is really important, in terms of these like negative double parking behaviors, there's also this piece of, we need to really think about like how can our infrastructure support the like legal behavior of like actually making a delivery at the curb and like and all of that. And so that's the challenge that we're trying to navigate. So I hope that kind of explains some of the nuance with the enforcement piece.
Yeah.
Yo pienso que hoy en día hay muchas dificultades con relación a los parqueos, porque hay que tomar en cuenta las dificultades con relación ahora a los postes de basura que están poniendo. Ya eso está cogiendo los espacios de los parqueos vehiculares. Entonces hay que tomar todo eso en consideración, porque ahora hoy en día se está dificultando más con relación a los trucks, cuando hacen lo delivery y los doble parking, las callecitas ya se están dificultando mucho para el tránsito, transitablemente.
Catherine, did you understand it? She said that there has to be consideration for the curb space because, like, for example, the pilot program, I don't think we have it in our district, but with the big bins or the garbage bins that they have, I think Spanish Harlem or in Hamilton Heights, they're taking up curb space. So now that we have in consideration a program like this, it just limits more space for the cars to park.
Yeah, no, if that's a big reason why it's been hard to cite because this is a big challenge and I hear folks need places to park their cars too, so I hear that. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
This is I just wanted to ask a question because I just want to make sure I understand it completely, but these permits would only be used for companies that want to do this micro mobility. Like I was just looking up net zero, for example. Like it would only be for companies that want to participate in it, as opposed to like it's not going to stop trucks from delivering to stores generally. So like it's really going to be dependent on companies that want to deliver. And I'm just curious, like just looking at their website, like how many people in our community would benefit from it as opposed I can see like Amazon, You know, like for example, on Broadway and 204, like Amazon's always parked there and takes up probably like 8 or 9 parking spaces every day in front of Dykeman Farmhouse. And it's a mess. Like you have people all over, all the delivery people are on the sidewalk and there's cones out everywhere. People are double parked next to the truck. Like that's kind of, I think, what would, you know, we would have like actually like permitted spaces for something like that. But is it really going to make a huge difference in our community? I guess it's like a larger question, are we really gonna, are people really gonna be doing other micro deliveries in Inwood and Washington Heights? I think that's something we need to take into consideration, but I guess my question generally, is it just for those kinds of deliveries? It's not gonna stop generally trucks from double parking and making deliveries.
I mean, yeah, and also using kind of standard truck parking areas, truck loading zones, like those sorts of things are still available to trucks who need to make deliveries. This is really for businesses that are interested in and really trying to be more sustainable, and who are wanting to kind of move to this model. And we're trying to encourage, we think that there's a benefit, and so we want to try to encourage folks who want to do that to like be able to have space to do it in a safe way and in a way that doesn't cause problems, like you mentioned, of taking up double, like having like activity that like blocks the roadway or blocks the sidewalk, so really trying to kind of get some more like formal structured space for folks who are interested in this. But again, like I said, it's a small pilot. um it's very new. It's more just like trying to see, is this possible? Is this something that we want to try to encourage more? Is this something that maybe like is not, not something people want? We're not trying to push this. We really want to, like, if there's an interest and there's, and certainly this kind of delivery is happening uptown. And so it's like, if there's an interest from the community and trying to see if we can get some curbside space to like make this a bit more formal and like encourage some of those players to do this in a safer way, like we want to be able to accommodate that. But you definitely hear folks on the concerns over the parking lots too.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, I apologize if someone had already mentioned this and I'm being duplicative, but in the board office and the district service cabinet meeting, we've received quite a number of complaints about Amazon in particular leaving those bins that they use, the cubes, in various places throughout the district. So it seems as if once a delivery worker has emptied it, rather than bringing it back and reusing it, many of them just get left next to sanitation garbage disposal bins. So I guess my feedback would be, as part of either this pilot or some future iteration of this, that there's like a fine program that if Amazon's not reusing these bins or is directing the delivery workers to leave them next to garbage cans.
Yeah, I mean if they have one of these permitted sites, like they are responsible for keeping it clean, and if they don't keep it clean, like they will lose their
But it goes
permit.
beyond the time. Like it ends up
Beyond, yeah.
like it, right.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and we can take that feedback back, because I think that's a good flag.
Jim?
I just want to clarify what Anthony is talking about, and you're aware of it. Amazon has these square bags that they drag around, and if they want to dispose of the bag, which I think is Anthony's point, and I will clarify what was already clear, they should take it back to their truck and they throw it out at their facility and not clutter up our sidewalks until someone comes to empty the litter basket, and that should be the requirement of their delivery folk. They're responsible for it and they get to throw it out. They shouldn't expect us to throw it out. On the other hand, if I found one, I might actually take it.
Some people do, but then you get left over.
I could fit in that also.
They are pretty big.
Tiny.
Oh goodness.
All right, just to wrap this up, Catherine, again, thank you for the presentation. My recommendation is, and you can reach out to the board officer, I'll reach out to Lyle. I would go and present this to the Business Development Committee. Again, they have the ties and resources, provide resources to the businesses in our area, so you'll get some traction there. And I think it's good to hear directly from the small businesses.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to ensure that people come in and are able to make these deliveries without out in the street, without taking too much of the street or double parking. But we want to also make sure that DOT partners with our community, and if they do implement this or decide to implement this in the future, that we're doing it the right way. The other recommendation I have is we have a parking hearing July 15th. Lau, you'll be there with us. And this is one of the agenda items we'll add. I think it's something that will get traction. I think it's something the community should know about. And, maybe you'll get some support there, but we're looking to hold this hearing in July to discuss a lot of the parking issues we have, which now includes the micro hub. So,
Okay.
hope to see you there with a shorter presentation.
Just be really targeted, right?
No pun intended.
All right. Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll move along. So, Lyle, do you have any updates for us?
I'm still here. Evening again, everyone. Not, I guess, maybe one or two major updates. Nothing too crazy. Just in general in regards to milling and resurfacing. I know it was mentioned before. DOT has been in northern Manhattan over the past several weeks, doing some milling and resurfacing of streets. We're currently a little further down, south of 96th Street and in the CB11 area, so East Harlem. As mentioned before, when we're back uptown, within CB12 or any parts of northern Manhattan, at least in the areas that I cover, I will send a list of those locations so everyone has a heads up as to where our crews will be. The other update I have is just one in regards to follow up from a presentation that DOT had made to the committee a few months ago in regards to our Amsterdam Safety Improvement Project. So just an update as far as when that will start. That should begin the week of June 15th. We've been coordinating internally in order to repave the stretch of Amsterdam between 182nd and 190th. We just got the official okay today that we can move forward with that. So we should be able to get the ball rolling on those safety improvements beginning in that week. So we're going to resurface that stretch of Amsterdam the week of June 14th. After that's done, we can get the ball rolling on installing some of the safety treatments that we had presented before the committee. So I would say within the next month or so, you'll probably see some changes along this stretch of Amsterdam. We've been currently coordinating with Yeshiva, who's also present, if you recall, at the presentation, just to coordinate, like I said, and just do some logistical things prior to that June 14th date. So stay tuned. We're working also on a flyer just so that the folks in the neighborhood, or at least in that area, are aware of what we will be doing and when and the nature of the project. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that we should be moving forward with the installation of that particular project in the next few weeks.
Lyle, just before you continue, please, with those flyers, with ample time notice, it should be out a week prior so that people know what's going on, not the day before.
Yeah. We're going to try to see if we can get some information out to folks ahead of time. So like I said, we just got the official word today. So now we can move forward with the other portion of outreach, at least, in the physical. So noted, and we'll see if we can have that information on the site with time to spare for folks to realize. Like I said, at the very least, we should have the milling undersurfacing flyers up there, the 24-hour notices, in conjunction with the what's happening here flyers that we're going to create. So there should be some notice on site for these improvements. I'd say fairly soon. So I'll send the information over to the community board once those flyers are completed. That's it for me as far as, oh, one more thing also. I'm not sure, this probably impacts folks in CB12 as well. I know that there have been issues as far as an off-ramp that we've had by the 125th Street exit for the Henry Hudson Parkway. That's been closed for a while now. Just a quick update for you. We are trying to get the ball rolling on getting at least some make safe measures done for this area. We've been having conversations with Amtrak and with the Parks Department for a while. Coordination with those agencies, especially Amtrak in particular. It's been quite difficult as this is part of the Northeast Corridor, so it's pretty challenging in order to work with Amtrak, but it looks like we've made some movement in that. So ideally, the plan hopefully is to get the ball rolling on the make safe treatments for this off ramp sometime during the summer. Hopefully by the fall or by the end of this year at the very latest. This area should be open and eligible for vehicular access. And then somewhere down the line, we are going to still have some coordination and some conversations with both Parks and Amtrak in regards to a more permanent solution. So the temporary make safe installations should be worked on fairly soon. I'd say in the next couple of weeks, if all goes well. That should be able to suffice while, like I said, the three of us decide what the next steps will be for a more permanent solution. So we're moving.
Where is this
Sorry?
location? Where is that?
On the Henry Hudson Parkway, the 125th Street exit. I think it's exit 12.
What? 125th Street.
125th.
Well, that's
Yeah.
not in our.
It's not us. I know.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention it because I know that it's been mentioned, throughout the North Manhattan. So if there's any impact to the community board, I just wanted to let it be known, that that's the work that's upcoming. So you can stay tuned on that. If anybody's interested, I'll send information as it comes.
Okay, we have a couple questions here. And Jody, and then Sonia.
So I had a question, in regards to the repavement, will the 101 be rerouted for that time period? Because I know testing is happening that week of June 15 for, the high schoolers. So I just wanna bring awareness to them having to take other means of transportation.
It's a good question. I don't think that there'll be any changes to the route, but I will give a heads up to the MTA just in case. Usually, there aren't many issues with buses being able to go over milling or resurfaced streets. Like I said, there should be a pretty quick turnaround as far as milling and resurfacing. So hopefully, the milling portion won't be as long as it normally is. But that's a good idea. I'm gonna just give a heads up to the MTA just in case they need to coordinate on their end or if they need to coordinate with us. But I don't think it would be much of a problem being able to travel by a bus on that stretch while we're doing our work. But I'll confirm and I'll verify it for you. It's no problem.
Jody?
Hey Lyle, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Listen, first off, a big compliment to you on follow up on the resolutions. I think it's really helpful and hopefully helpful to you as well. And hopefully we can continue to sort of update these resolutions along the way so that we can all sort of keep on top of where we are with them as we move forward.
Understandable, yeah. I'm glad that you got the list. I sent the updated list over to you a couple of days ago, so I'm glad that it was relayed to you. Absolutely, yeah. As we go along, we can definitely, either have a checklist or just kind of like have running.
Numbers you have things to offer us as far as feedback, I think. I'm very excited about the Amsterdam Avenue. That's super great. The only one that I'd love to ask you about is the renovation of 165 and Riverside Drive. I know you guys are in the process of doing it. Can you give us
Yeah.
an update on where we are with that?
I'm not sure. I think, I'm not sure how much more we have to do. I know that the plan was to start installation of the improvements in that area after the area was moved and resurfaced. From what I understand, the work had started over there, but I will reach out to my colleagues to see what's left to be done, what's been done to this point, and what the time frame is for the rest of the installations to be completed. But at the very least, I know that we've repaved that area so the street's a little bit smoother. And we're going to do some minor things just in the area. I know that we've also installed, I think that was also added to the resolutions list, the flexible bollards at the intersection of 165th Fort Washington. I know that was a concern for that location and for that stretch as well. So ideally, with the installations at the intersection of Riverside and 165th, coupled with some of the treatments that we had done at the intersection of 165th and Fort Washington, hopefully we'll start to see traffic flow a little better in the next couple of weeks. But I will reach out to my colleagues to see exactly where in the installation process we are, and I'll get back to you and Leo to let you know. No
And
problem.
maybe just a completion date. And I do have to tell you, I've been driving along that stretch now over the last week, and it has improved. There's actually new lanes and better lanes. And it is, to me, seems to be flowing a little bit better. But our crosswalks are in, which is really a big deal because pedestrians couldn't cross safely in that at that intersection in the past.
Yeah, and that was one.
So notably,
Sorry.
a lot is happening, but I would just love
Yeah.
to have an update on where we are exactly with its
Sure.
and its completion.
No problem. Yeah, that was what, and as you mentioned, the crosswalk was one of the things that we wanted to do first. Especially after the concerns you had raised over the past couple of years as far as pedestrian access or safe, defined pedestrian access from east to west. So I'm glad to hear that you're happy with the installation of that crosswalk. And that was one of the first things you wanted to make sure was installed for that reason. So I'm glad to see that it's working.
Yeah, and then of course, the last one I have to bring up, and I'm sorry, is the viaduct. I went by there the other day, and still emergency vehicles are in front of the access opening, fire with their little fire placards on there, and it's 5 and 6 cars at a time blocking the access route, plus a U-Haul truck.
Okay. All right. I know that our liaison Valerie was to have some conversations with the 33rd precinct in regards to enforcement and to essentially raise awareness since they seem to be one of the culprits. We've heard as far as parking in the emergency access area. I'll check in with her to see how far she's gotten. And we have a cabinet meeting also next week. So I'll bring this up to the 33rd at that time as well. I did it at the last meeting. I'll make sure to do that again, just to make sure that your voice is heard as far as enforcement or at least access for emergency vehicles for that curb. I know that DOT installed that lane, but we'll see if we can try to twist some arms in order to get the other agencies, at least as far as the enforcers, so to speak, PD and any potential access that's illegal. We'll try to have those conversations and see where that takes us. But thank you for letting me know that that's still taking place. We'll continue to work on that and see if we can get some movement there too.
Lyle, real quick, Lyle, I'm still waiting for some dates so that you, myself, Anthony, Noemi, some of these other committee members, and Danielle can walk the site at the viaduct. I haven't received anything from you. We're in June. We'd like to get it done sooner than later.
Well, yeah, like I said, as far as a walkthrough for the viaduct, as I mentioned last month, there's some complications, at least as far as a public walkthrough at this time. I've been trying to see if we can move that forward. I'll see how far we can get if anything's changed. I've been meaning to get in contact with you, Lee. I know that there are a couple of walkthroughs that we've been to schedule, and now if the weather's better, I think it's about time. So, if anything, we can definitely touch base sometime during this week and see if we can put some dates in the calendar in order to do at least a few walkthroughs. I'm not sure about the Viaduct one, but like I said, we can definitely do a few others in the meantime. While I try to see what's going on with that walkthrough in particular. But I'll get in touch with you later on this week, and we can have a further discussion about that and some other things.
One more thing from Jody.
Just on that very last point though, what does he mean by public walkthrough, right? This wouldn't be something I think we would advertise so much as it would be limited just
Yeah,
to
a few of
this
us, yeah.
committee and community board leadership.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Remember,
All
I
right.
have a,
Yeah, let Jody finish and then Randy. She has one more point.
okay, then it's my turn.
It's your turn.
Yeah, Lyle, I sent you an email, in May. And one of the other things that we're requesting, if possible, is a Riverside Drive sign at the at that 6-point intersection. Did you get that, request?
I'm not sure. I can check and bring it up. If it's a signage request that you have, we
It's
do
on
have.
Yeah, I can send it to you again.
Okay, sure.
It's, supposed to, it must have fallen off or something, and, a resident that lives at, the Grinnell brought it to our attention, and, I sent it to you, just asking if we could get that sign put back up, and I'll just give
Sure.
you the details and send it to you again.
Absolutely, no problem. Yeah, if you want to bump up that email, I can definitely relay it to my colleagues, and they can work on getting a replacement sign for that location.
It's
That's no
not a
problem.
big deal, right?
No. If it's a replacement sign, it's essentially a sign that should be on site. So if it's something that needs to be replaced, yeah, that's something that we can. That should be easy to fix if it's a
Okay,
replacement
so
sign. So
I'll send it to you.
absolutely, yeah, and I can forward it to my colleagues. No, that's no problem.
Is this the sign at 157th Street in Riverside?
It's 158. It's the 6-point intersection. It's sitting on the southwest corner of Riverside Drive. It has West 158th, it has Edward Morgan Place, but doesn't have Riverside Drive. Wayne Benjamin sent it to us.
Is there any way where you go in there, you can take a picture?
Okay, so my turn now.
Yeah, no, I have pictures that were sent to me by Wayne, so I can send those on too.
Jim, go ahead.
I want to reiterate the point that Mary made in terms of your milling and repaving and then putting back the markings. In general, it takes entirely too long
Yeah.
between when the milling is done and when the repaving is done. And as Mary pointed out, and she uses a walker, and we have numerous community members who also use walkers and also wheelchairs. It really makes it difficult for them. And then even after the repaving is done, which ideally should be done, after a much shorter interval, then there's always again another excruciating interval between when the markings are put back. And of course, some of these places without the markings are extremely dangerous because nobody knows where they're supposed to be. You don't really know where the crosswalk is.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
really know where the lanes are. And I believe, although I haven't checked, they put in a whole bunch of curb cuts in my area. And I don't believe last time I looked, they actually have even put the lane markings in and, the new lane markings associated with the new curb cuts. And we mentioned this to you last month. So again, and I know they're done by, well, let me put it this way. I know they're done by different divisions or departments or whatever, but as an end user, frankly, I don't care. We are, these intervals have to get down, and if your various sections, departments, whatever you call them, need to coordinate better, then they really need to do that because they're, making life very inconvenient for people, and they're also endangering people because we don't know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. So
No,
many
yeah,
have some public attendees.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, and I've heard complaints as far as the turnaround time for our milling and resurfacing as well as for our lane markings after that. A lot of it has to do with essentially letting the ground settle after it's been milled. You see there's a bit of a time before the resurfacing takes place after the milling. That way, that amount of time in between essentially is to let the all the like the ground settle from the work that was done. And if there are any utilities that need to get into that location within that time, that's also the time that we allow for them to do that while the street's essentially in that condition. So sometimes, yes, the turnaround is pretty lengthy, and I do hear you as far as lane markings as well. Sometimes the turnaround after resurfacing for the lane markings to be installed is quite lengthy. I will definitely try to reiterate I have in the past to my colleagues as far as having a quicker turnaround time. And if there are locations within the district where to this point we've resurfaced, but there haven't been lane markings replaced, we can send those locations to be and see if I can get an official time frame from my end as far as when those markings will be reinstalled.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
So,
I'm going back to what Kyle began talking about, which was the resurfacing improvement on Amsterdam Avenue. Lyle, my question is, how is this determined? Because I walk Amsterdam Avenue from 181st to 190th on a daily basis, and I don't see the need for resurfacing there as much as the need that there is on 181st Street, where these potholes are the size of craters.
Tony, this is in regards to a resolution we passed a few months ago for a street safety improvement project between 181st and 190th. So that's not necessarily they decided to pave a mill and pave. It's part of an overall street safety improvement, and now you can obviously build on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's part of a street safety improvement, and also at least as far as the conditions, the road conditions of that stretch of Amsterdam over the past few years, it's actually been in pretty bad condition. We like I said, it's taken a while for us to coordinate with Yeshiva and to come up with a plan as far as the street improvement project that would fully incorporate what we've been trying to do north of 190th. So it's taken us a little bit longer than expected time to actually get to resurface the stretch of Amsterdam. Like I said, now that we have coordination, and support from both Yeshiva and the community board, we're able now to move forward with that resurfacing and with these installations. And I think I mentioned it last month also. I know that the potholes in 181st were mentioned. When it comes to filling potholes, separate and apart, independent of our milling and resurfacing, I think I mentioned Mayor's office and DOT are trying its best in order to get to potholes and any sort of road defects at a quicker rate. So any potholes that you see, those are treated as one-offs and case by case. So we can fill those potholes fairly quickly if you see any, independent of where they are. So as mentioned before, if you see them, you can let me know, and our roadways division can go out there quicker and a little bit easier than it would be just to, as it is for milling that whole, like I say, a particular stretch. So it's never an issue if you see a pothole or any sort of road defect. Those are things that we can handle and address separate and apart from any road resurfacing that we may have planned or scheduled. So I just wanted to reiterate that if anybody had any concerns or locations or areas that they'd like for us to follow up with.
Thank you, Lyle. Leo, can you send me that motion, please, so that I can be?
Yeah, I said that we voted for it. I forwarded it to you, Zoe.
Thank you.
Yes, I know, and then we're going over. We do committee board, and then we public.
Just want to make sure you saw.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it, guys.
Hi,
Go
Lyle.
ahead, Ann.
Hi, how are you?
So good. I just have a quick question about what Jody mentioned at the viaduct about emergency vehicle access. First of all, there have been some tickets on cars, on private cars there, which is great. So that's finally happening on occasion. Not across the board, but it's happening on occasion. But my question to you is more specific about the signage. The sign up there in front of the emergency access lane says, and it's a white sign, rectangular with red trim around it. No insignia, and it says no parking at any time, emergency vehicles only. So my question for you, Lyle, is, does that language prohibit legal or official FDNY or NYPD vehicles that have a placard on their dashboard saying unofficial business? Does that prevent those vehicles from parking there legally?
Yeah, that's a good question. At least when it comes to unofficial official vehicles, I would say should be able to park there. That's essentially what the access is for. Unofficial vehicles, that's a little bit tricky because the enforcers are the ones in some instances that are parking there. This is where it gets a little dicey as far as enforcement when it comes to who tickets and tows and which agency that falls under. Which is why we are trying to have conversations with the local precinct as far as their current behavior, especially in relation to the behavior of others that are there. So I would.
I'm not asking about behavior. I'm asking about the signage, the language of the signage. What does it need to be to prohibit any cars, anytime from blocking emergency vehicles to that building, those three buildings that right now have zero access to a fire hydrant?
Well, that sign should be is in effect for everyone. I would say, except for official vehicles or emergency vehicles. So an ambulance should be able to park there, a fire truck should be able to park there, a police car. That's marked. Everybody else theoretically should not have access to that or should not be able to park there without, any sort of official signage or marking, I would say, in the car. Like I said, it's dicey when it comes to placards and vests. Some may see that as an official vehicle, which it may be. But like I said, as far as it's clearly marked, there shouldn't be an issue. Like I said, it's a little bit of a gray area when it comes to placards and vests. But theoretically, only officially marked vehicles should be able to park in the emergency vehicle access lane. If that helps.
Thank you, Ryan. Go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
Hi, Light. My name is Sandy, and I would like to point out a sign installation at 124 Watchworth Avenue, where the St. Victor Church is. I am assistant treasurer at the church, and our priest was here. I apologize, he had to leave for a viewing, and I have also our parishioner, Harika Terulaki, for special initiatives with me. So we have the sign there installed, no parking anytime. And right now, any car of the church, of the parishioners, of a visitor, everybody they are ticketing. Everybody they gets a ticket. So we have started having a decline on our church. And our church is not only for the Orthodox, it's for the whole community there. It's like a community center. We rent our ballroom to the Spanish community. We are open there for quince años, for birthdays, for their weddings. We are doing our services too. We have our senior program, which is open to the community twice a week for the whole community around the neighborhood there, with food and other activities. The caregivers, they cannot bring the people with handicap. They cannot park, they get ticketing. The same time, we have the buses passing by and gets tickets through the camera. And next to us is the school. So imagine what is happening every day there with the traffic, especially the rush hour. And we invite you to come there. We are asking you to partner with us. We ask the help of the community board, and we need you there to see the problem and the issue that we have right now. We are struggling, and we are feeling that we are discriminated in this point. We have sent a lot of letters. We haven't received an answer, and we are asking for help.
This is for St. Spiridon.
We've had many conversations with the church over the years. Leo was a part of some of them, and MCA was. We've had these conversations on site with members of the church over the past quite a few years. For that stretch,
I'm
on
sorry,
what?
sorry. Let me ask you a question. So, because DOT did install the signs. I remember we
did.
less than a year ago.
No parking
No
anytime, so
parking.
they didn't really help you.
So the thing is, and Lyle could ask this, DOT doesn't have a specific sign that says no parking but parishioners, or no parking but the church. They don't do that. Now we can have a conversation, Lyle, you can be a part of with NYPD and say, hey, listen, during these times that you give us, work with our community and allow certain no stand or certain momentarily standing or parking while there's service.
No, we are not asking to see us as special people here, but we are asking to see us from a spectrum of another level of conversation, because for 95 years we are there. We never had this issue with those signs. There was another sign there. I cannot remember exactly what it was, but it was giving us the access for a lot of people to park there. It was limited to buses, something like that. We are a corner also building, so we have all the buses passing by from there.
I have an answer for that.
Okay, so why the bus route to be there right now? We can't have this conversation also, you know?
So I spoke to MTA, and unfortunately, that's where the first bus stop happens for the tell you right now. So I asked them, is there any way we can move it towards between Broadway and Fort Washington? They said no. Because the bus turns onto Broadway and it goes straight down Broadway.
It used to be.
Yeah.
There, it can be in St. Nicholas, which is so big there.
It's a conversation. Obviously, we can meet on site, Lyle and Berto, Anthony, if committee
That
to
would be
discuss.
That's one of the problems, because we used to have a festival every year there, and now we cannot close the street to have a festival there. So it's the festival. It's a big income producing activity for the church. So and we cannot have it there.
Which we're giving back to the community. But right now we are in a big decline. People, they're not coming. Father is doing the viewing today in another church.
Yeah, that's not good.
You cannot do a funeral there.
I mean, the ideal is the route change to another bigger street,
Well, the route
Well,
go ahead, Alana, go ahead.
I was going to say, so a couple of things. Number one, you have to that particular block, when it comes to curbside access, DOT has to do a few things. Number one, there's a school at the corner on the south side. Our school safety division has to install loading zone signage in order to have pickup and drop off of the students and school buses get access to the curb. So on the south curb or the south side of that block, you have to have the no standing signage from 7 to 4 during the days in order for student pickup and drop off to occur, because the school is at the corner on the south side. Speaking about the rest of the curb, number one, if I'm not mistaken, the pastor has a placard, a clergy placard, which allows. Sorry?
Yes, only the pastor. We have the specific.
Yeah. So clergy parking allows the pastor to park on that block with that permit. Anyone else who parks on that street, at least where it says no park here, no standing, would be eligible to get a ticket. I know that if the church had asked for no standing signage north of where the church was, closer to 180th, and it was mentioned that it was actually standard old side parking that was north of the church, so vehicles were able to access that curb, but the church had asked us for no standing signage, essentially clearing that out. And we had notified the church before we did it that this would essentially preclude anyone from parking here in the future, and we were told to move forward. So there was actually curbside access, standard alternate side parking for at least some of the church members north of the church, between 139 and 180th, but the signage was changed for the church's request. So where that is, like I said, where the church is, it's on an ACE camera corridor. That's a separate conversation with MTA. There is a bus layover on the 179th Street side between Wadsworth and Broadway, that's a separate conversation with the MTA. But at least from a DOT perspective and the signage and the curbside regulations, there's certain things that we have to do because of what's there. So the no standing signage is there for the school, and the no standing signage is there for the church. And religious institutional, we also deploy no standing signs as well.
Our existence.
No, yeah, the thing is, like he explained, so I was a part of those meetings. We went to the site, I advocated for the church, and you guys wanted the no standing sign. He did warn, saying, hey, we put this, you're subject to enforcement.
Yeah, at that meeting, I did warn you.
As long as it prohibits anybody else from parking and taking the space from our people, we're okay. Fortunately, enforcement comes with that. Now, we can have a conversation and we can't have a conversation. You can go to NYPD and say, hey, listen, it's a church, it's for our parishioners. We spoke with DOT, we spoke with the community, but they're aware it's for our parishioners. During these times, please limit the parking. Now, can't guarantee that they're gonna do it because they gotta follow signage.
Yeah.
And then for the MTA, I actually had an update for you. I'm surprised Alberto's not on, but I went back and forth with MTA. We have two things. So I know that some MTA placards are on the vehicles that are parking there. If you see any of those vehicles, send me pictures. I will send it to MTA and they will speak to their people and ensure they won't park there anymore.
Okay.
For the bus stop, though, they cannot move that bus stop. That's the beginning of their route, and they're just not gonna move. I spoke to them. I asked them if it's their location. We can go further up, east, west. They said. So now we can have a site meeting with MTA, so you guys can point out the issues, and then they can give you the response. I would like for you to.
When can we do that, baby?
I'll reach out to Alberto. I can't guarantee it'll be this week, but I'll reach out to him. It'll be this week. We're gonna have a site meeting.
You're very respectful to us. We appreciate that you know the church.
Yeah.
You went to the.
Yeah, I actually went to school in Cecilia.
You told me last time.
My first school. They did universal pre-K before most people did actually. So I was in school at age 2.5, 3.
I think if we have a private meeting with MTA.
Yeah, we'll request a meeting.
If they'll consider something else, yeah?
I'll ask Alberto.
And Leo, I have an additional thought because there are many Greek churches. And you have an association or a bishop or whatever, right?
Yes.
It might help actually to get your bishop involved, so all of your churches work together because you would essentially have a louder voice.
That's a
So
good
that way,
idea. We can do that.
It wouldn't be just your church. I mean, obviously pursue what we're doing, but it's probably a problem for other churches also. And so if you speak with one voice, you might be able to accomplish more.
Okay, so maybe a letter to MTA from the Archbishop.
Exactly,
Yeah.
something like that,
Guys,
exactly,
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a very good.
And
Thank
if you email me, I can send you Alberto's information as well.
Yes, of course. Okay, that's
Okay,
perfect.
so I think we have a private meeting with them.
Yeah, we'll have an on-site meeting.
You're welcome to be, you know, I will want you to be.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I want you to be there.
I'll be there though. I'll reach out to them and let them know. And hopefully we can set it up in the next couple of
For your
weeks.
help, guys. Thank you
Always.
for everything. You know?
Thank you guys for what you do for the community.
I was in a festival with the Jewish community downtown, and I saw outside of their church they had a special sign
Did you hear this?
Did you
for
take
the
a
party.
picture?
I took a picture and I will put it
Sure,
on my
I'll take a
letter.
picture.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to keep, because
Yes.
you were not aware of that, right?
No,
Yeah.
Laya told me that they don't do something like that. They don't
Yes.
make signs like that. So
What do you mean a special, like, what do you mean a special sign? What do you mean?
I'll tell you now the sign of what the verbiage on it is. If you want, send it to me by email. Because I can forward it to
Yeah,
them and we'll
please,
have
I'm gonna forward to you.
Yes. Laura, we can if it's legitimate then
Here also.
yeah.
It was sent to you also.
You have my email address,
Yes,
right?
yes. Thanks.
Thank you guys
Thank
always
you.
for coming.
Thank you for everything,
Thank
for
you.
everything, right? Thank you
And
for
very
your-
into our meeting. And I know for so small for an issue, you guys stay the whole time.
Hey, don't worry.
All right, Laura. So once they forward me that email, I'll send it to you and I'll coordinate with Alberto to have a second meeting.
We'll involve the Archbishop.
Yes.
It's not meeting too.
Like you said,
Yeah, that was
more
my
people know the
next
voices they do
Yes,
carry.
thank you so much.
Okay, have a good night. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, so 9:30, I'm gonna move this meeting on. Just wanna give a quick update about Port Authority. So there's been a couple incidents, as you guys have heard on the George Washington Bridge. two under the bridge, so under the big buildings. Debris was falling. I don't think there was any accident or incident, but it was very, very hazardous situation.
Under the,
Under
one
the
car
bridge.
was hit and damaged.
Oh, so yeah, one car was hit and
And one person was injured.
So there you go. One person was there. It was two incidents under the bridge and one by the retail stores. Debris fell. Nobody was hurt, but again, it caused a bit of ruckus in our community. I reached out to Jeffrey, who's the Port Authority rep, and I'm sure Anthony sees him at the District Service Academy, so he'll follow up as well. And they're following up, so it's not like they're leaving us hanging dry. I did invite him to this meeting. I didn't want him for you guys to hear from his mouth, not mine. But I think it's something that moving forward, and we'll see what happens this summer. I'm supposed to have a sidewalk through. They do have a rehabilitation of the bridges project coming up. Not sure when it starts. Maybe you can follow up with that as well. It's through phases. But my suggestion is, if things don't improve and we have the summer, obviously, hopefully nothing happens to anybody. But if things don't improve, we have to write a reso to Port Authority, asking them to repair, to rehabilitate the area. Again, something's coming. They warned us about it, or they advised us about it about a year ago, but we haven't heard anything yet. I just want to make sure that we're on top of that because
Yeah, I mean, there was just an incident on Monday.
yeah.
Last Monday.
Mhm.
Uh,
So it's 3 total incidents within like 3 weeks or something like that. June.
Well, I think we have to either write a letter or something because, you know, I was hoping that there would be someone here. We always should keep in mind that the Port Authority is sort of beyond our purview. We get to talk to the city technically and nobody else. And they're this interstate agency. But, you know, I pay attention to infrastructure. It's one of my hobbies. Like when nuclear plants blow up, I read the reports. And I know it's wonderful. But the thing is that they claim that certainly the two things that took place under the Trans-Manhattan Expressway where the concrete fell, this had to do with the freezing and the rain and the salt. Now, the point is, and the other thing, in fact, yesterday I came home. He was from a doctor's appointment, and it was like in the 80s or something. By the time we were coming up the Harlem River Drive, right? That was where the app that Uber uses sent us onto the Major Deegan in the Bronx because it thought that was better, and it was just as bad. It just crept all the way up to the Trans-Manhattan Expressway. When I looked across the river at the Harlem River Drive, that was creeping also, about as bad. So it was. But then when we actually got on the Trans-Manhattan Expressway, you know, if you go west, there's this last exit in New York that gets you to Cabrini and stuff. They had a whole lane closed. And in fact, I did Google Maps today with the traffic on. And they claim there's construction there, but when we drove by, there wasn't anything happening. It was just closed. And presumably they're supposed to fix it and then open the lane again. So, and I'm sure this backed up onto the Cross Bronx Expressway too.
It's been bad.
So, you know, we've got to, you know, and at the very least, we have to make a statement. We can even, you know, pass a resolution and send it to them. It's a slight bit more noise and maybe they'll move slightly faster, you know.
I mean, the question is do we want to be proactive or reactive? Because we are going to experience, there's no real data, but just sort of anecdotal expectations that because of FIFA, traffic in the district is going to increase tremendously because it's happening right over the bridge.
Yeah.
And so if we want to be proactive and pass something, now's the time to do it because that starts next week. Otherwise, we are currently planning for a committee of the whole in late July. So if we want to be more reactive after whatever occurs over the course of FIFA, then that would be the time.
Well, what we should actually do in terms of FIFA, and you see, there's also this fancy word, well, we'll leave out the fancy word.
When there are traffic problems caused by the bridge in Fort Lee has given the Port Authority permission to put their police on Fort Lee streets. Way back when there was a feud between the Port Authority and this, at one point, good mayor, and he turned into a crazy fool, Mr. Giuliani. He alienated the Port Authority, and there's been a total lack of cooperation since then. It's gotten slightly better. But what happens, and in fact, it happened the other day. In fact, it happened when this collapse occurred. Suddenly, 179th Street doesn't move, and the people block the intersections. So Broadway's blocked, Fort Washington is blocked, St. Nicholas is blocked, and that's just chaos here. So if and again, this brings us to the interesting issue that we'll discuss on July 15th about who should be enforcing things. But the Port Authority does not have permission to control traffic in Manhattan, as far as I know. But that means the New York City Police Department actually has to get, and by the way, when this whole thing happened, they actually had traffic agents all over the place for that one emergency. But during the whole FIFA thing, especially when there's things happening at the Meadowlands, cops should be, or some kind of traffic control people should be at 179th Street and Fort Washington, 170, mainly 179th and Fort Washington, because people, and like later on when people come back, they have to be in the other place, and they should be at local intersections. So I think, and you could probably, the district manager could do it, or we could sort of authorize it or whatever. Actually write to the DOT, or actually not the DOT, the police department. They have a traffic division, even though they have people trained to direct traffic, that it's necessary that our streets be kept moving. Because if 179th Street there's an ambulance space at 170th Street, where the ambulances, pick up supplies and stuff. If 179th Street isn't moving, and there's an ambulance south of 179th Street that wants to get to 189th Street, it's not going to get there because the streets are blocked. We've had a gridlock in this neighborhood before. So I think it's important that we really reach out to them. And, I personally authorize you to make as much noise as possible.
No, I will do
So,
that.
about a year ago, we had a meeting with Jefferson Port Authority regarding the rehabilitation of the Trans-Manhattan Expressway underpass and overpass. I know that there was a proposal for like a $2 billion project. They were supposed to come back and compress on that. I'm not sure if you want to go in resolution or try to see what we can work by the district service academy. He's responsible. I'm not gonna say at least when I've emailed him with the incident, Jim, and I know you've been very on top of it, and I appreciate it. He's been responsive and gives us updates on it. So honestly, we can go either way. Like you said, we can be proactive and push something
But the
now.
FIFA thing is different.
Well, yeah, completely different.
That's going to be,
It's gonna be massive, yeah. I'm referring to the repairs and the issues we're having with the bridge specifically on the check.
Okay.
So
Let's press them on a presentation for early fall, but in the meantime, I'll do what Jim is suggesting on the FEMA part.
Okay.
Control there.
Okay. All right. Great.
because we don't want to, after the fact, go, that person would still be alive. We want to make sure the person stays alive in the first place.
Right.
Alrighty. So real quick before we close off, we are gonna have a hearing on a parking issue, a public hearing on parking issues.
Do we know what time and where yet?
Wednesday, July 15th. We're still working on the location. I'm aiming and trying to reach out to Mike Fiddlestein, I think his name is.
Fiddlestein.
United Palace. That's what I would like.
Fiddlestein.
It's Fiddlestein. United Palace, I think it's a midpoint for our community. It's a big enough space, and I think it's
It only has 3,000 seats. That may not be big enough.
You'd be surprised.
3,300 seats.
So and it would be sometime in the afternoon, obviously in consideration. So Wednesday, consideration of people who are probably after 5 p.m. We'll have an agenda. I'll set out an agenda. If you guys have an idea, I have a bunch of bullet points we want to hit. I'm going to invite DOT, obviously, and other.
Maybe you want
stakeholders
to
that-
invite the police too, because
Yeah,
they do the
they will
enforcing.
definitely be at the front. Yes. So that's this. So stay tuned for that. I'll be sending out information. And if you guys have idea or want to discuss anything parking related, we should include this is the time. And whatever comes from that, we'll probably pass a resolution that we get approved by the committee of the whole. I guess that's the time that we can
Yeah.
ratify the board.
For sure.
And then last, you have a question, David?
Pregunta. Con relación al área de United Palace, esa callecita que está tan estrecha,
La plaza.
están todas las bicicletas ahí.
La plaza.
La plaza.
Ajá.
Pero entonces, en la misma plaza, ahí está la callecita paralela. ¿Qué solución tendría eso?
Solución. Si ellos pusieron la bicicleta y ya están ahí.
Now translate for us.
She's saying that by United Palace on Wadsworth, I believe, there's a bunch of city bikes. She's like,
Oh,
it's unfortunate, but what can be a solution for that? I guess it's taking up space, parking. But once they install city bikes in locations, ya cuando DOT instala esos city bikes, es muy difícil.
I mean, if nobody uses them, that'd be a different story, but if they're used.
So the study, because I've seen study because I'm a doctor, people actually use it a lot, frequently. Especially in a community like ours. So but yeah, it's very
Se
tough.
pierde eso ahí. No hay espacio.
No, it does. And then lastly, before I close out, I sent you guys the Google form. Send it to Anthony first. He seems to like that hope.
I looked at it, it's beautiful.
And I think it's just for us to follow up. Again, it's not for us to act like 311. It's not for us to solve every issue, but us to know what happens at corners and pockets of our community that we don't get to go to, so that we can follow up with the agencies. And I think it's a great resource to offer to our community. Take a look at it. Hopefully we can get something done and put it on our website sooner than later. I know Ty's doing a great job with revamping our site. So I would like to see it up there. Take a look at it. If you have any input, if you have any recommendations, if you have any.
Actually, I have one recommendation now, because one of the questions is, did you call 311? You might want to, because we can also just put information. It's a good idea to call 311. You know,
And
that kind
provide
of
the
thing.
service request number.
Right. Oh, I think we did ask for it, but we.
Yeah, we asked
wanna-
for a service because,
But we want to, you know, also reinforce that this is something they should do. It helps the process.
That would also be good to feed to the district service cabinet.
Right.
Okay.
If you call from your phone, you'll get the.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Text.
Okay. All right, with that being said, it's been a long night. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
I second.
Motion, got seconded, Noemi, and then seconded by Jody and Jim. And this
All in
meeting is
favor,
adjourned at 9:39. Yes, we're in favor. Jody, sorry. Melissa, Noemi, I asked that you guys help me with the meeting minutes this month. Giving you that. As I know, Melissa, you do great with the meeting minutes. It's taking amazing. You've been amazing help, and you guys all are. Jody's always on top of
Excellent.
everything
No, it's
going on
excellent.
with
Good,
the
good.
rest. So I appreciate it.
That's what I said.
Well, I
That's
can't
why
multitask. So
that's
if I
why I-
take
that's why I
minutes, I
agree.
can't.
Leo,
Sí.
placer.
Placer, man.
Gracias
I appreciate you guys. It's a lot of work, but
por todo y
hey, gracias por venir.
Thank you for coming.
Claro que sí. Yo vine y trae gente, bring people.
Okay.
Bring people. We have, te lo puedo mandar una lista de los comités
Okay.
que necesitas la voz para hablar y para preguntar preguntas. So,
Para la inquietud de
Yes.
tiene la comunidad.
yeah.
Okay, gracias,
Okay.
Leo. Okay, bye.
Oh, I'm like down right now. It's like it's so much better. I was in a car.
Oh, really?
Like destroyed right now.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say is wait until you get old.
Jim, I don't want
Today, everything hurts. It's just unbelievable.